Shut up and sit down. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Tech Rich Games. I am Cade, and I am joined with my good friends Chezizzle and King Koopa. What's going on, everyone?
What's happening?
Yo.
It's been quite some time since we've recorded a podcast, but within this
How
time...
long has it been?
Like a month?
Yeah.
No, it's been longer than that.
Since, like, before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took a
Been a
long
while.
break. I mean, there wasn't really much to talk about towards the end of the year.
True.
Not much gaming news. So it just gave us a lot of time to play games and think about basically our theme for this episode, which is going to be our game of the year for 2019 and our game of the decade from the year 2010 to 2019. Buckle in. It's going to be a long one, but it's going to be some fun talking about some of the best games that we've had in the last 10 years. So I'm pretty excited to get this started. But before we do, since it's been a while, I mean, what have y'all guys been up to? What y'all been playing? What's going on?
Not much.
I'll go first because Cooper's been playing fucking all kind of shit.
Alright, go ahead.
I've been playing Guitar Hero. That's about it.
Wow, throwback.
Yeah, that's all of it. I've been in this weird mood lately, and that's all I've been playing.
Yeah, I saw you tweeted about like DJ Hero, so I was like, well, Chaz is like playing retro games by
DJ Hero.
Yeah.
now. Yeah, those
I'm
games
about
are
to
like
get a PS3 so I could play DJ Hero.
yeah, those games are about 10 years old now too. But what about you,
So
there, Coop?
I haven't been up to much, but I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey a lot, and I played COD a good bit as well, but then since I started playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I kind of just haven't been playing anything else because it sucked me in and it doesn't want to let go, and I'm like super, I could say addicted to it now. I love it, and yeah, that's about it.
Kodo? I've been addicted to Pokemon like it is crack. I've been playing it like nonstop every day since
People
release.
still play that game?
Yeah,
Dude,
for real.
I'm playing it like right now. I have it open on my monitor. But yeah, I've been playing Pokemon Sword like crazy. It's fun. I've been doing a lot of stuff like content wise with Pokemon lately, and I joined like a Discord server to be doing like a Pokemon gym league, and I'm gonna be like a
Nice.
mono psychic type trainer, so it's gonna be pretty dope. So a lot of stuff coming.
Do you have
for
to
me
like
with
role
Pokemon.
play with like voices and shit?
No, it's just we're just gym leaders, and they can challenge us and stuff like that. So
Oh.
yeah, but it's
There
still
should
pretty
be
cool.
RP Pokemon servers.
I'm sure there are somewheres.
That
I'm not gonna lie,
should be lit.
but yeah. So I like I said, I'm like addicted to it. It's just fun. I thought about playing Call of Duty the other day, and then I was like, nah, I'll just play Pokemon instead.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I've been up to for the past like month and a half. With that being said, let's get into our game of the year for 2019. So we could do it like snake draft style. So we'll start with Chas. What's your third game? So we're gonna be going from our lowest to our highest rated, but it's gonna be like our three. So it's our top three.
Yeah.
Yeah. So number three.
2019 was a trash year for me,
I agree.
so I struggled to find games. So I had to Google what games came out this year.
Me too.
And I forgot this game came out this year, and I would definitely put this on the list. Apex Legends.
Oh yeah, that's true. That was like January.
Respawn put out a free-to-play 3v3 battle royale game, and it's probably the best gameplay-wise battle royale game in my opinion.
Sure.
It's still like a thriving game, and I don't play it as much, but I would still jump in every once in a while, and that's a good-ass game.
Yeah, I didn't play too much of it. I was still hooked on Black Ops 4 when it came out, but I played a little bit of it when it first launched, and I could see the appeal of it. It played very smooth too. I liked it, but
Yeah.
it never really hooked me, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot that game came out too this year. It was
Me
so
too.
early on.
I'm terrible
Yeah, it
at
came
battle
out-
games, but I liked the whole Titanfall scene because I love Titanfall a lot. So the whole Titanfall world was awesome to me.
Yeah, like it's pretty much just a Titanfall gunplay, but like in a bigger map
Yeah.
without the wall running and shit. The one thing the game is missing is this like a solo mode. They had it for a little while, but then they took it out. I wish they'd add that shit back because I'd much rather play with myself than with people. But you just gotta play with people and meet them because I'm weird and don't talk to people. Yeah, it came out the first week of February, so it came out really early. So a lot of people forgot. I forgot that it came out last year. So
yeah,
that's my number 3.
Cool. Well, what about you, Coop? What's your number 3?
My number 3 is I'd say COD because I really didn't have like a lot of games that came out this year that I played. I mean, I liked COD a lot. It has its problems. We've talked about that so many times, but I'd say it's definitely my number 3 because I mean, I'm not a Battle Royale person, so I didn't play Apex really. And the other 2 games on my list that we'll get to for number 1 this year or number 2 are definitely better than my 3rd one, but we'll just leave it at that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talked at great length already on previous episodes about Call of Duty, so I mean, there's not really too much to say about it, so I think I'll just leave it at that. Like it's.
Yeah.
Has it gotten any better? Like.
Yeah, I'd say yeah. I mean, definitely since you've last played, it's gotten better. But I mean, you know, it's still the maps will always be a problem. They're gonna continue to
doors will always be a problem.
Yeah, the doors always. They're gonna continue to add those retro maps because they realize that they're shitty at making new maps. But I mean, besides that,
but then they add doors
to
the
new people
to the
go
old
that
maps,
can make maps,
and it makes it worse.
Yeah.
All the people who make good maps are at Treyarch.
I mean, you're not wrong. But
even them though, they put out a lot of trash maps too. Like where'd the good map makers go? Like in COD 4 and COD 5, every map was fire.
I think they just moved on to other companies.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think Black Ops 4 had pretty good maps, but like,
Black Ops 4
but I think
maps.
Treyarch always suffered with DLC maps.
Yeah. Oh,
Their
definitely.
DLC maps are always terrible.
You remember Black Ops 3, that huge problem we had with the DLC maps.
Yeah.
No, Cooper, you don't understand. I just remembered the fucking DLC maps broke Black Ops 4. It made that game unplayable. They were so bad.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Remember that big ass map with like 8 fucking hard points, and it was fucking.
Oh my
so
god!
Didn't one of them have like a fucking mech, or was that like Advanced Warfare?
That was Black Ops 3.
Was it Black Ops 3? They had like it was a huge map, and they had like a big mech.
They had 2 of them. Each team could get one. I don't remember what map it was called, but yeah, that was on Black Ops 3. That was like the last DLC pack. That map was terrible. Way too big.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Let's not get on a rant about Call of Duty here.
And one more thing.
We're talking about the best games, not the worst games here, guys.
Let's not forget Splash is one of the worst fucking maps ever that we all hated.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had some pretty sick snipes on that map, though, but yeah, it was still bad overall.
It's a cool looking map, I just hated it.
Yeah. But, alright, so moving on from Call of Duty, we talked so much about Call of Duty.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that.
So, my number 3 game of 2019 is Fire Emblem 3 Houses. I've been a fan of the Fire Emblem games only more recently, ever since Fire Emblem Awakening on the 3DS, and the series since then has really hooked me. And this one was fantastic. I think it was everything about it was really great. I think after a while though, the kind of school aspect got a little tiring, and it was a pain to navigate the open area of the monastery. But other than that, the game was really fun. It had really challenging aspects of the game. It's been a while since I played it, so I would need to like refresh everything, but it was still, out of all the games I've played this year, it was still one of the best games, and I think it's probably one of the best entries in the Fire Emblem series that I've played, and I think unanimously along the fans, I would say it probably is up there.
Yeah, I've never played Fire Emblem, so I have like.
Yeah, I'm not a big strategy guy, but like these games really are really good. It's like role playing strategy.
Everyone loves them. That plays them loves them. So.
Yeah. This one was super fantastic, and it was a warm welcome on the Switch. But
I'm gonna have to check it out one day.
Oh, for sure. I definitely recommend it. and there's been some DLC that came out recently, but I haven't gotten around to play it. But so moving on to my number 2 of 2019. Surprisingly, not my number 1, and I'll explain why my number 1 is my number 1 later on. But number 2 is actually Pokemon Sword and Shield.
What?
Wow.
Yes.
Surprising.
I could argue and say that it's number 1, but I'll reserve my number 1 pick as to why. But for me, Pokemon Sword and Shield, this is probably one of the best. Again, also another one of the best entries in the game. In general, there's been so much quality of life improvements that this game has offered, and then they just recently announced DLC coming for it later this year, and the DLC looks super awesome. Like, I'm super excited about it. I can probably go on about an hour talking about the DLC and stuff to come in the game. But
we could also talk about how the DLC should have been added since the beginning.
Nah, I mean, here's the thing. Game Freak has always offered a third version of the game, or a continuation like Black and White 2 or Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, or Crystal, Platinum, stuff like that. So if they're going to do DLC for it, instead of releasing a third game at $60, I'd gladly get the $30 for the DLC.
That's a very good way to look at it, and you're very correct.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there's going to be people that argue about, like, oh, well, the Pokemon should have been in from the beginning, and they're putting it behind a paywall, but they're really not, because you get free updates. It's just, if you want to be able to catch the Pokemon in the wild, you need the DLC. But if someone trades it to you that has the DLC, you don't need the DLC pass. It's going to be compatible with your game from the update. And then also, if you have Pokemon Home, you'll be able to transfer your Pokemon from Let's Go and stuff like that forward into Pokemon Sword and Shield. So it's kind of like a yes and no sort of answer, but I think everything that they're offering in this DLC is fantastic. Like, it's stuff that I feel like isn't necessarily needed. It wasn't included in the base game, but I think it's a welcome addition. Like, they added new customization, new Pokemon, new forms of Pokemon from the past, completely new Pokemon in general. It just seems really fantastic. But from what has been already released in 2019, the game by itself, even without the DLC, was great.
We talked about it on the podcast, the way I felt about it, but you can't say it's not a bad game. It's like, it's definitely a solid Pokemon game. So, and that's your shit. So, I was just surprised it's not your number 1, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I'll explain my number 1 later on. It might surprise y'all, actually. But
it already has.
But what's your number 2 there, Coop?
My number 2 was Outer Worlds.
No surprise.
Yeah, I like y'all talked about in the other podcast that I wasn't there. I played the fuck out of that game. I loved it. It had all the elements of Fallout that I loved, but then they had no bugs that the Fallout series had, so that was great. I could just go on and on. I won't say too much, but I'll just tell you, like, all the side quests, even the side quests were like super like rewarding and just awesome and fun. And like, that game was it. Honestly, I did think, though, a lot of people said this too, it was short. I did feel it was short. It was a short game, I find. For like a game like that, I mean, when you play, like, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and with the DLC combined, that game's like, if you play like games how I play, where like I just explore and never want it to end, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is like a 200-300 hour game probably, but then like Outer Worlds, I beat it in like a week or something, 2 weeks maybe, not even, and I did everything in the game. So I thought it was short, but I mean, hey, regardless, I thought it was amazing.
It's definitely shorter than like a Fallout game.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it was cool to travel. The difference is you weren't stuck in one map the whole time like a Fallout game, like one area. This was awesome because you got to go to different planets and stuff like that. And like the whole choice system, I find, was a little deeper than Fallout chose or had, And but as far as the skills and everything, it was just like Fallout, where you could have a high lie skill, you can have a high persuasive skill, and that's my favorite to run because you could just make people do funny stuff in the game. But yeah, overall, number 2, solid pick. I would recommend anybody to play that game, whether you like those styles of games or not.
Yeah. I liked it a lot too. It's not on my list, but I liked it. I wish Obsidian could make another Fallout game, but Microsoft owns them now, so that's not gonna happen. But I prefer the Wasteland setting over space settings. A game of this quality, but a Fallout game would be insane. Yeah. But
True.
I don't know if we'll ever get that because Bethesda's Bethesda.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a really good game.
Yeah, I have it. I didn't play too much of it. I probably put maybe like 2 or 3 hours into the game. I didn't get too far, but I can see the improvements from how Obsidian went from Fallout to this. Everything runs very smooth and it's not as janky. So
yeah, and the guns actually feel like decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to getting more into it. Once Pokemon kind of dies down a little bit for me, I'll be able to explore more of that game. But
yeah, dude, you have to beat it. It's so good.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do everything to get the full experience. That's what's so good about that game. You don't have to do all the shit that I like.
It's on my to-do list for this year for sure. What's your number 2 there, Chess?
My number 2 is Jedi Fallen Order, another Respawn game. So Respawn taking 2 out of my 3 spots.
Yeah, Respawn had a good year.
Good as developer. Okay. This game is hard as fuck, and I'm really bad at these type of games. So it took me so long to beat this fucking game. This game is like really, really, really good. If you're a Star Wars fan, like the amount of lore that they have in this game is insane. They have lore from probably every single Star Wars, like it's crazy. Hopefully you haven't been watching football because there's a commercial that ruins the end of the game. So hopefully you haven't.
Really?
Yeah, there's a commercial that spoils the best part of this game.
Wow, and
thanks
football.
No, they keep airing it, and I get mad every time I see it.
Thankfully, I watch football games without commercials because I stream them, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, this is a good ass game.
That's wild though. But I love Star Wars. I'm looking forward to playing this game eventually. It's another one of those games that's on my to-do list. It's probably gonna be one of those games that I'll pick up. When it's like $20, $30 later down the road.
I think you would really like it because you like Dark Souls and shit, or at least more than I do.
Yeah, I'm not good at them as well, but I enjoy them for what they are for sure.
Like, I definitely had to bump the game down to the easier difficulty because I'm so trash at those type
At
of
least
games.
they have difficulty settings, unlike the Souls games.
Yeah. And you can change it at any time, so you're good.
Yeah, that's good.
I never finished it. It's on my to-do list, too, but I did really like the game. I like Star Wars and stuff. I mean, I'm not like an insane, Star Wars nerd like some people, but I do like it and stuff, and it was cool. And I did find it was hard, and I had to, I had to bump it down quite a lot. One of our friends, Chris, he made fun of me because I had bumped it down almost all the way down, and he was like, "Dude, come on, dude, you can't play it on the medium one." And I'm just like, at first, no, I couldn't, and then eventually you get used to it. But man, solid pick.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of stuff from other good games. Like it takes a lot of stuff from God of War, and it takes a lot of stuff from Metroid Prime.
Yeah,
and it just throws it in a Star Wars universe, and lightsabers are fucking cool as fuck, and you can customize your lightsaber a lot. The one thing I wish they had was more customization for your character, and because the customization for your character is kind of whatever, but the best part of this game is the droid BD1 is the best Star Wars droid. Don't at me, he's my boy. You're gonna fall in love with BD1.
So
that is all.
Back to you again. What is your number 1? Our first number 1 game of 2019.
It's my turn?
No, it's Chaz again.
My number 1 is Tetris 99.
Woo! I knew
it. Tetris getting love.
Oh my god, this game came out
this 40-year-old game getting love.
Before I saw your list, I knew it.
Technically, this is a 2019 game.
This is for sure.
But I think Tetris is like the best perfect video game in my opinion. It's like the best game ever made. It's not my favorite game, but it's like the best game ever made. So Tetris wins all the time. Tetris 99.
You sound like a commercial.
I don't know who. I don't know who the genius was like, hey, you know what would be fun? 99 people playing Tetris at the same time.
Yeah.
More like it would be ass, not fun.
And they've added so much to this game. Like this game is pretty much like a server, like a games for servers game. Like there's so much to unlock.
Yeah, and they have like different
stuff,
themes all the time too, according to like Nintendo titles.
Yeah, like if a new Nintendo game comes out, then there's gonna be like an event, and you can unlock stuff related to that game. So there's like a Pokemon theme, and you can unlock like Pokemon.
Yeah, I think
like
Fire Emblem had one too.
Wow, that's cool.
And like Luigi's Mansion, I
really
think
cool.
maybe Link's Awakening. Yeah.
Only Nintendo would find a way to make Tetris like a games for service, but I'm cool with it.
With a pretty hardcore fan base too. Like, there's still people playing this like now, and it's like it's been out for several months, if not like almost the whole year.
Yeah, I was about to look up when it came out because I forgot, but it was sometime this year apparently because it's on my list. I made this list weeks ago, so.
Yeah, dope pick. All right, what's yours there, Cooper?
My number one is Metro Exodus.
Oh, the shock.
Yeah.
I'll
try. I forgot I did too. I'll try to keep this one simple. I got into the series pretty late, I'll say. I had heard about them like a long time ago when they came out for PS3. Like I saw them at GameStop and stuff. I just never played this series before. Now, recently, I was on Reddit, of course, and I saw some people like talking about how amazing the series was and like how the new one was about to come out. So I started going to look up some stuff. I said, well, before the new one came out, I went and go and buy the collection on the PSN store, and it was very cheap. So I played through the first two. I played through the first two. I love the first two. They were awesome. But the reason why Metro Exodus is my game of the year is because I'm going to tell you this, just the DLC they released alone made it. Or just the DLC by itself could be game of the year for me because the DLC was amazing. It told a story that you didn't get to see in the game, but it was a story that was talked about in the game, but you didn't get to see it. But then when the DLC came out, it's like you got to play through that story through someone else. So it was cool. It was memorable. It meant something to players who love the game series, you know? And, I loved, and Metro Exodus was different from the other ones. They had like a little bit of more of an RPG element to it. You could customize your guns more than you could in the other ones. And the enemies were a lot tougher. The map was a lot bigger. You got to travel around Russia. It was awesome, dude. I loved it, and that's all I could say because I could keep on going forever.
Yeah, I have another buddy who's really into the Metro series. I tried getting into it a while back. I think 2033 is the first one. I tried playing that one a long time ago on 360, and it was fine. I got to a part that it gets pretty hard. At the end, not an easy game. Because you run out of ammo, and then like you have to use your money because your money is ammunition. So it gets really hard because afterwards you can't buy more ammo because you had to use it, and then you can't, repair your weapons or anything like that because you have to use your money to kill a monster or whatever. But it's a really cool, like the atmosphere is really cool. It's very unique and an interesting game. I haven't been one to really care for first person shooter like story based games for a while.
Thank you. Yeah. Somebody was on my side.
Like I haven't enjoyed a first person shooters like story driven game probably since BioShock Infinite. Like I don't know, there's something about those games that it's really hard to really
see. I'm the opposite. Like when I was
shits on me for not liking first person shooters.
I'd rather third person.
I was playing Metro Exodus, I was all in such the mood for like playing first person shooters, and then I kind of got out of that mood. But like I'll always love them though. Like
I'd rather play first person like online, multiplayer wise, like Call of Duty. But I won't ever play the Call of Duty single player. Like I just don't care for first person story games all that much. It has to be truly special for me to really enjoy it. but we'll get into those probably later on, come our 2019 our decade lists.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Just to give you an idea of how much Cooper liked Metro, this man stood in my house and with a straight face told me this game was as good as The Last of Us.
That was whenever I was like had just finished it and all the feels were rushing through me.
Yeah,
and
but
shit,
every game you play is like the best game ever. So
Yeah.
this must have been incredibly hard for you to make a list.
I had a problem. Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
I don't think it's better than The Last of Us, but at that moment I did.
That's funny. All right. So the last game for 2019, my number 1 is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
You beat it?
No, I have not.
Damn.
But that's the thing. Like, I think this game is still so good, even though I have not beaten it. I've played the game. I played through the game several different times, like 3 different playthroughs. Every single time, though, I could never beat the last boss. But this is the first Souls game that it's a Souls-esque game, I should say, not really a Souls game. That really,
it's pretty close.
I really fell in love with. Like, I really dug the world and the lore, and like I was watching like YouTube videos and like reading about shit in this game because I wanted to know more about the world because it was so interesting to me. And you know, I was doing all these like I just tried to do everything that I could possibly in the game, you know, like try to do these little glitches just to see if I could do them that like speedrunners would do and shit. And like I would try to do that. I wouldn't really necessarily try to speedrun, but I would like to try to do the glitches just to see if I could do them, you know. Yeah. But I've never beaten fucking I can't remember his name, Ishiro or whatever, at the very end of the game. Every single time, no matter what playthrough, he's always like the last one that you have to beat. And both times I couldn't beat him. I've gotten so close, but gotten so far. But in the end, it didn't matter because I didn't beat him.
Honestly, it looked like a really awesome game, and I was
so
excited
fun.
about it. And then I realized that it's one of those games that I'm very terrible at, like the Souls games kind of thing. So I was like, shit, I can't do it. But the whole, like, when you parry, like the parrying system, how like the sparks fly, and like, to me, that shit looks like, I love to watch people play the game.
It was kind of low-key a rhythm game, to be honest. Because like you had to kind of like memorize like attacks and like get in like a rhythm of like how when to block and everything, compared to Dark Souls, where you're really just kind of running or getting behind enemies. You're not really trying to deflect them as much. Whereas this one is all about deflecting and parrying. So it was kind of like rewiring for a lot of people. Like there's a lot of like there's some of my friends that are like really big into Dark Souls that like hated this game because of that reason, because they're not used to blocking, and they were like, why can't I just like jump over this attack or whatever? And it's like, well, no, you have to block it. But if you go play Dark Souls, it's like, oh, I can't block it because I'd still take like damage from it or whatever.
So I gotta dodge.
Yeah, but it was super fun. I still have love for the game even though I haven't beaten it. But just the amount of hours I put into it and played through the game so many different times, and all the videos I watched on it about the lore and all this kind of stuff, that's why it's my number 1. I think it was just a fantastic game all around. Nothing but love and respect for it.
Yeah, I saw it on sale during like Christmas, and I was so close to buying it, but I knew that how much I struggled just with Star Wars. I would not get anywhere in this fucking game, so I didn't waste my time. But
I would have gotten myself so bad, like trying to get good at it, and I knew it wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
I get pretty mad very easily with those games, but which I think also doesn't help me with how bad I am at them. But this one, I didn't get as pissed off. There was times where I did get pissed off. Like, man, it's been so long since I played it because it came out in January. I can't remember the dudes' names, but like there was that middle boss that was kind of like the wall breaker for a lot of people. Like that was kind of the wall that most people would come into, and if like you could beat them, then you can kind of cruise through the rest of the game. But if you didn't, like that was like it for you. There's a lot of Souls games that they always have like that one boss. You know, like Bloodborne had Father Gascon. That was kind of like, even though he was like the second boss in the game, he was kind of like that wall that like Once you beat him, you
Yeah.
can kind of cruise through it. But yeah, I spent probably like a week trying to get the parrying down on him, like the timing and everything, before I finally fucking beat him. Like, I probably put like 20 hours into the game before I beat him. Like,
Golly.
and he's like maybe like, I don't know, the fourth boss in the game or something like that, you could say.
I know what you mean, though. A lot of those games have that.
Yeah,
Where they just have
and
that
like the
wall.
games really aren't that long. It's just it just depends on the grind that you want to do for them. But yeah,
The coolest part, looking part was like the big ass snake.
dude, the snake was pretty cool. I think the ape was probably like the coolest boss. Like the first time you fight him in that valley, he was pretty dope. He was hard as shit the first couple of times, but once you got like it down packed, it was a fun fight. But I loved watching rage videos of people fighting him, because like you cut off his head and then he comes back to life with like beheaded, and you have to beat him again. And like the people who were like, "Oh, I finally beat him" or whatever, and then you see the body move and they just start freaking the fuck out, was like the greatest thing ever. Oh man, game was so good. But so that does it for our game of the years for 2019. So rounding out the top was Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, Metro Exodus, and what was Chaz's again? Tetris 99. How can I forget? So
Come on,
that's a
man.
very diverse lineup of games right there.
Oh, definitely.
So that goes to show there were some good games through different genres for 2019.
Yeah.
But moving on to our next list. This one's going to be a long one because this is a decade list right here. Our best games
We spent
of
35 minutes talking about 3 games.
Yeah.
So
We'll go by very quick on these because we won't spend as much time because they're older. A lot of people have played these games, so we can just quickly run through it. But I guess I'll start first on this one. So our favorite games, our best games of the decade from 2010 to 2019. My number 10 is The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone that it's on a list.
Fuck, that should have been on my list. God damn it, I forgot that game.
But yeah, I mean, Skyrim, we've talked about the Outer Worlds and Fallout and stuff, and Skyrim was one of those games
the first 10 hours of that game is like some of the best shit ever.
Yeah.
Like the first fight against a dragon, dude. Oh my god.
Sprouted so many memes with the arrow to the knee. Like the game was fantastic, very memorable.
Still getting re-released.
Everyone's still buying it somehow. But after I've played it for like 120 hours, I'm not playing it ever again. But I had my fill of Skyrim, but I got to show some respect to the game. And that's it. So, off the Cooper, what's your number 10 for the decade?
It was hard to put these in a.
It was definitely
in a
a lot of good games within the last 10 years.
I had to take 5 out. It pained me, but I had to do it. My number 10, I would say, would be Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I've been an Assassin's Creed fan since the very first one, and I've played all of them except maybe like Rogue, and I did not like Syndicate. Didn't finish that game, hated it. Liked all the other ones though. Well, I'll put it to you this way: Black Flag, I've beaten it at least 2 or 3 times. It has a lot of. I loved pirates. I loved everything about the game. It was a great game. I mean, from what I've heard from other people, it's a lot of people's favorite Assassin's Creed game.
It's up there for me.
Yeah, and even people who don't like the games, like Chaz doesn't really like Assassin's Creed games, but he'll say he loves Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
I at least played that one.
Yeah, it's a great game, and it was one of those games where, like I just said, it was for a lot of people, like not just Assassin's Creed fans, like everyone liked it or everyone could have liked it. But like that's all I'll say. I had my time with it. I had my fun with it. I own it on PS3 and PS4. I love it a lot. So there you go.
Yeah.
Cool deal. Chaz?
All right, my number 10 is Journey.
Nice.
Journey is a game that is really special. It's like I've played it once. I played it in one sitting, and I never touched the game again. But it's just like
Most people don't play it twice, though.
Yeah, it's one of the most unique gaming experiences I've ever had. The way they tie in multiplayer in that game so seamlessly, and then at the end of the game, you and your partner just go in separate ways, and it was, I don't know, just such a unique game. Yeah, it was a good game.
Cool.
I don't want to talk about. We have so many games to talk about, so
yeah, we'll try to talk quickly. But what's your number 9, Chaz?
Number 9 goes to Overwatch, a game that came out in 2016, and I'm still playing today, even despite Blizzard. Yikes. Yeah, it's just a game that is such a diverse character lineup, and they keep adding to it, and the game's still thriving, and it's still sick, and I still play it. So,
my number 9 is also Overwatch.
Oh shit!
Oh, I love it as well. Me and Chaz played it a lot. We've had our fun. We used to play it since the beginning. I have a lot of hours in that game. I've played every character. I've had my fun with that game. I haven't played it in a while. Chaz keeps begging me to play it, but I'm busy playing Odyssey right now. But
also, if Chaz would show that he's online and not offline, we'd know if he's playing or not.
So the game is amazing. That's all I could say. I loved it, and I still love it, even though I don't play it.
All right, so moving on to my number 9 is actually another Assassin's Creed game, but it's Assassin's Creed Revelations for me.
Ooh, that's up there for me too.
Reason being, I didn't put any of the other Assassin's Creeds on the list, even though I really enjoyed 2, Brotherhood, Black Flags, and this one probably the most. But I had to put Revelations on here just because it rounded out the story of Ezio, just being that last chapter in his trilogy. Otherwise, I probably would have put Brotherhood on here, but that's the whole reason as to why I put Revelations, just because it was that final chapter. But it was still very good and memorable. And also, I'd have to thank Cooper actually for getting me onto that series, because I remember we'd go to you or Diego's house and we'd be playing the original one on the PS3. So you introduced me to the series, so
yeah,
I have to thank you for that.
Throwback. It's cool that you said Revelations, though, because besides Black Flag, that's my other favorite one. It's just that I didn't put it on the list, so I like Black Flag more, but Revelations was awesome to me. That was my favorite out of all the Ezio games. I know everybody loved 2 so much, and like I loved Brotherhood a lot too. I still have my original Brotherhood poster signed by all the developers in my room. I love Brotherhood a lot, but it's cool that you feel that way about Revelations, because like I feel like not enough people like have that one as their favorite,
Yeah, they introduced that weird battle tower system that was like
old.
Whatever, but the rest of the game was really solid.
Is that the third one?
That's the third. Well, is the 4th overall, but it's the 3rd one in the Ezio trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But moving on over to my number 8. My number 8 is the first Red Dead Redemption. That stars John Marston. Because that one, in my opinion, I still actually like it more than Red Dead Redemption 2. I think Red Dead Redemption 2 just had too much to do in the game. It was a little slower paced. But also, this was also at a time when, I was in high school and I had a lot more time to play video games. So I was able to lose myself in an open world game. And it's very memorable to me because I played the game for like the whole week when I had my wisdom teeth taken out. So I just remember laying in bed, swollen mouth, and like just grinding Red Dead Redemption online and trying to get the platinum trophy that I never ended up getting. But god damn it, I love that game, and it is still my favorite Rockstar game to this day.
Yep, me too.
Yep.
I would say I do prefer that one over 2, even though 2 is probably a better game technically.
It is, and I hate y'all for this, that y'all have these opinions.
I prefer that one. Good. Yeah. The online multiplayer was really fun in that game.
Yeah. I tried getting that trophy for like being like the most notorious or whatever for like so many hours. Like it was like for so many minutes or so many hours or whatever, and I could never do it.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It was hard.
I tried so hard, but oh well. But what's your number 8 there, Coop?
My number 8 is, oh man, this list was so hard to make. I would say I'm gonna go with I hate to copy you, but the Red Dead series would be my number 8 as well. I put Red Dead series because I loved number 1 a lot, just like you said. But I also love number 2, and unlike y'all, I actually played it and finished it and loved it and was obsessed with it and did almost everything in the game.
Yeah, I haven't finished it.
So, yeah, like Kay was saying, I mean, it at the time that game was Red Dead 1 was like the best game that came out around its year by far. You couldn't even compare it to any other game. Red Dead 2 was awesome, and I understand the whole slow pace. People didn't like it. I get it. I don't have to me, if the game's already sucked me in and I love it, I don't care if it's slow paced or not. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. But 2 was awesome. I loved it. I loved all the different things you could do that they added. And then the Undead Nightmare was a sweet bonus for Red Dead 1. I always
Dude, that was a pretty dope add-on.
That shit was so fun, dude.
Also, I forgot to mention, but the ending to number 1, as well as the post game, was also one of the most memorable gaming moments of my life.
Definitely, dude.
But
the ending of 2 and the post game of 2 is just as iconic, probably.
Yeah, dude.
I haven't gotten to it, so I don't know.
Oh, that's true. We can't talk about that. I almost said something.
I'm actually probably just gonna watch it on YouTube because I don't really feel like getting back into that game.
Had Cooper explain everything to me.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But honestly, though, like at the end of Red Dead 1, when John Marston just walked out and all those dudes, like it was so sad for me that he died as a character.
Yeah.
I loved him so much as a character. He was awesome. Now I loved Arthur way more. There was no like Arthur's. I love John Marston, but Arthur's the man. He is way better of a character than John Marston was, you know. But yeah, okay, we can move on. That's all
right, Chaz, what you got?
My number 8 was Portal 2.
Okay.
Yeah, just one of the best games ever made. Probably one of the best puzzle games ever made. Valve needs to make a Portal 3. They have a thing about not making the third installment of their series for some reason. So I don't know if we're ever going to get a Portal 3. A Portal in VR would be sick.
Definitely.
It also probably get people sick, but I still want it.
I'm surprised that's not a thing.
But
it might become one. Who knows?
Portal 2 is so good, and they have so many people made their own levels, so there's so many custom levels you could play on PC and stuff. So, and the co-op campaign, so good.
Nice. So what's your number 7 there, Chess?
Number 7 is BioShock Infinite. A lot of people don't like BioShock Infinite as much as I do and Cooper does, and I think you, Cade. I just love this game so much. I know it's a lot more shooty than the other BioShock games.
It's actually my second favorite of the 3.
Yeah, it might be mine too. I'm not sure.
Because nothing tops the 1 for me.
We'll talk about this later in the list. But yeah, BioShock Infinite is so cool. The ending of that game is so fucking cool.
Dude, I still think about it to this day.
Yeah, and I can't wait. I know it's not the same studio, but I don't care. I just can't wait for more BioShock.
I know, dude. Me too. I'm just beyond excited.
Yeah, especially now that isn't there a whole development studio that's their main focus right now is another BioShock title.
Yeah.
Can't wait. But yeah, BioShock Infinite, I think because of how more of a action game it was compared to the creepy, kind of eerie kind of style of the first 2 BioShocks, it doesn't get as much love. But as far as the story is concerned, it is probably one of the most mindfuck.
The setting of that game, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In the sky.
Yeah.
In the sky.
and then like the how the story all wraps up is just a complete mind fuck, and including with the DLC of Burial at Sea and
oh yeah,
oh my god, dude,
Yeah,
so
dude,
good.
God.
Wait, what was the DLC where you got to play as Elizabeth?
I think that was Burial at Sea.
Yeah.
that was that
Oh
one.
my god, that DLC, dude! I had played that one late. I didn't play it when I first played the game, like a long time ago when it had around the time it had come out. You know, I played the
Yeah.
DLC like
Yeah.
a good number of years back, and oh my god, that when you got to play as Elizabeth, that was such a great
Yeah,
story.
it was like years after the game came out that I actually was able to play the DLC. I didn't get to play the DLC until the remastered collection came out on PS4.
Yeah, I didn't play it till
And
then either.
man, I didn't realize
Yeah,
what I was
that's-
missing.
Yep, that's what I played. That's when I had played it too.
Yeah,
because it came out kind of late. Oh no, yeah, it came out kind of late on the PS3, so we kind of moved.
yeah,
on
because
to
it was
PS4.
like
Yeah.
it came out like I think the year the PS4 came out.
2013,
I think it came out like that in March.
same year.
Cool. I like that pick. Actually, spoilers. I didn't actually put it on my list, but it was one of my honorable mentions. So I'll just say that. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
we could do honor mentions last.
yeah. But what is your number 7 there, Coop?
Okay, my number 7 was the Batman series, and I say
Cooper,
that.
choose one.
Okay, fuck. It's so hard. Okay, I will choose. Okay, let's do.
Cooper trying to cheat the system here.
Damn
Yeah,
it!
this is
I'm going to choose the whole
God, dude.
Assassin's Creed series. All the games that came out during 2010,
All right.
2019, you know, spanning
enough. I'll
between
do-
10 games.
I'll do Arkham City. I loved Arkham Knight a lot. I loved Arkham Origins. Arkham Asylum was my least favorite, and I know people think that's crazy, but yeah, we'll do it. Arkham City. Batman's my favorite superhero, hands down. Regardless, me and Chaz always have this inside joke anytime we're talking about anyone or anything in this planet or in the Marvel, even anything, any kind of superhero. We're just like, oh, Batman could easily kill him. We say that all the
Yeah.
time. That's like our outstanding like fucking inside joke. We always say that, oh, Batman could beat him. But yeah, so you know, and Warner Brothers did an amazing job with the games. The games were awesome to me. Now the whole like melee fighting thing, it was hard for me to get used to because I'm always used to shooters, right? As we talked about earlier. So that was hard for me to get used to during playing those games. But great story, great everything, and I was obsessed with those games for quite a while. And I know Chaz can agree.
Yeah. Knight's my favorite. I know a lot of people don't like it because of the tank
Wow.
stuff, but Knight's my favorite just because I love the Batmobile so much, and I love
Wow.
the ending of that game. I don't know if we're gonna spoil it, but like the ending of that game.
I mean, you
is
can. The
so
game came out
fucking
like
sick.
4 years ago.
Okay, the ending of the game where Batman turns into the fucking Joker, and it's like a first-person shooter and shit. It's so weird. Like,
Yep.
and then they have oh my god, the Mike from Breaking Bad plays Gordon. Like, so good.
Oh, that's who played?
think
I didn't
Knight's my
realize
favorite.
that.
Yeah,
That's wild. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, Knight's my favorite. I know a lot of people don't like it, mainly because of the tank shit, which I get because the tank shit's annoying.
The tank shit was very annoying, but I did love
It was
that
all the
game.
Forced Batmobile stuff. That's why I didn't like it.
Yeah,
I mean, I liked it
just
overall,
driving the
but those are my
Batmobile.
biggest
Yeah,
complaints.
just driving it was so fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I like the whole like Red Hood storyline and stuff like that. But
Yeah. Like just driving your Batmobile at full speed and just launching out of it into your glide, dude.
no, I mean,
So-
yeah, that was cool. I didn't mind driving around in it. It was like all the like other bullshit you had to do with it.
Yeah, yeah,
But I don't want to talk too much about Batman.
yeah.
But- All right, so my number 7 is actually Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
What?
Nice.
I put it down here because as much as I loved Breath of the Wild, I felt like it's definitely not my favorite of the series. I think what it really lacked was actual Zelda dungeons. Everything else about it though was pretty great. I mean, first time they ever had voice acting in a Zelda game. Open world Hyrule was awesome. the customization of like you have different outfits and weapons and everything was really cool. But it makes me really excited to see what they're gonna do with the sequel. Hopefully they bring back dungeons, because I really feel like that was the only thing that really hurt that game for me overall. And then also with the rest of the games on my list, it's really hard to put it up higher. But I still have to shout it out because Zelda's an amazing series. Breath of the Wild's an amazing game. And that's what I got to say about it.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna talk about Breath of the Wild later on in my list, but yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah. So, moving on to number 6. My number 6 is actually Batman Arkham City.
Nice.
So, I think that was probably the epitome of the series, in my opinion. I think that's where it really felt like the size of the game was perfect. It wasn't too big, wasn't as small as Asylum, but it wasn't as big as some of these other open world games want to be. The story was really great with Doctor Strange and Joker coming back, and all the villains and characters in that whole series were just great. Yeah, Hugo Strange.
You said Doctor Strange.
Wait, what? Oh.
You said Doctor Strange. I was like, what?
Hugo Strange, right? That's his name.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't he also a doctor though?
I guess, but I've never heard him called Doctor Strange.
I mean,
really
there's also
Doctor
like
Strange,
Captain Marvel in like both DC and Marvel, so whatever.
Yeah.
They all base off of each other in one way or the other. But
yeah.
But yeah, so overall, I think that was just the best, and I just had to put it up there. Batman's one of my favorite superheroes, besides one other superhero that we'll talk about later. Spoilers. But as far as DC is concerned, Batman, and the other thing about this series was also that it really took those superhero games to that next step, and what all these other superhero games have to try to not be like, but strive towards.
It was definitely the first like really good.
Yeah, like really successful,
Batman
not
game.
just like gameplay wise, but also story, everything about it. Also I want to shout out to Khalid and Cambria and Panic at the Disco for being on the soundtrack for that game.
Fuck yeah.
So, fuck yeah.
And we got to see them perform that shit live.
Yeah, that's when that song came out. It was like that year.
Yeah.
That was pretty dope. But moving on to Cooper's number 6.
My number 6 is Titanfall 2.
Hey.
I play. This is another game that I got very obsessed with and hooked on for a while. I had never played Titanfall 1, which I've seen YouTube videos and I regret it, but I never had an Xbox, so I couldn't have played it because it was Xbox only, right?
The first one was, yeah.
Yeah, so I never had played it before, but I've seen YouTube videos and it looked awesome. But I played Titanfall 2 quite a lot. They have like it's called a regeneration system in there. It's kind of like Prestige for COD, except way more time consuming. I was like 5, either 10 or 15 like regeneration. So I played a very, very, very large amount. I loved everything about the game. I loved mostly all the guns. I loved the shooting mechanics. I loved being in the Titan. To be honest with you, I kind of liked being outside the Titan a little more than being in the Titan, but then towards like later on that kind of changed. But overall, great game. Loved it, and that's why it's on my number 6.
Yeah, the Titans are the whole reason why I never liked Titanfall. Ironically.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like I said, I got used to it after a while, but at first I liked just playing as the pilots.
The thing I didn't like was the little grunts that they have, like.
Oh yeah, like the AI, like it wasn't actual people you play. Yeah, that was very weird too. I agree.
But just the feeling of getting in your Titan and blowing the fuck out of some people. So
Definitely.
Good.
Crazy kill cams on that game too.
Yeah, and like the executions were fucking awesome too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Chezizzle.
All right, just sneaking it into the list. Back in 2010, another BioShock game, BioShock 2. Woo!
Yay!
Me and Cooper are probably the only people that think this, but BioShock 2 is better than BioShock 1. Let me hear you. Woo.
No,
the best one in the whole
it's
series.
definitely not. It's the worst of the three.
BioShock 2 is better than BioShock 1. Woo!
No,
It's
it's
the
not.
best one of the series by far.
I will
really
put it on my
is.
tombstone that BioShock 1 is better than BioShock 2.
No, dude, you get to be a big daddy. You have
mean,
to fight little big
You get to be a big
sisters
daddy
and
in
shit.
1.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
Yeah, that's like
I will
the
say
whole game.
the combat system is better in 2 than in 1.
Yeah, and like that whole like aspect of like setting traps and shit.
Yeah.
And the only reason you think BioShock 1 is better than BioShock 2 is because BioShock 1 had that twist ending, and everyone like freaks out about that.
not only that, BioShock 1, 2, just the whole overall feel of the game, like the creepiness, like
I still have a jump scare. No matter how many times I played BioShock 1, I always have the same jump scare every time.
Yeah.
That gets me. And I know it's coming and exactly when it's coming, but I still jump every time.
Yeah, people think me and Cooper are crazy because we like
Y'all are.
BioShock 2 more. But also the DLC for BioShock 2 made by
Oh
Steve
my
Gaynor,
God.
the guy that went on to create Fulbright, the Fulbright company. One of the
Dude.
best DLCs of all time.
Minerva's Den was.
Yes.
was
How about them putting a
such
multiplayer
fond
in that
memory.
game too?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
multiplayer. Like, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
That multiplayer was
Minerva-
crazy.
Minerva's Den was like one of the most well put together DLCs I've ever played in my life, and even though it wasn't insanely large or anything like that compared to other DLCs out there, it was better to me because it was
Yeah.
it was fantastic. Perfect is how
Yeah.
I would describe it.
I just want to say though, even though I think it's the worst of the 3, by no means do I think it's a bad game. I still think it's a fantastic game. It's just if I had to scale it, it's my least favorite of the 3. I'll say that. Not worst, but least favorite.
Okay,
that's
you're allowed to have
fair.
that opinion.
Yeah,
All right.
as long as because
Now
there's
that we
people out
understand
there
each other.
like streamers and stuff. I won't name any names, but they'll sit there and be like, "Oh, I want to play the BioShock series," and then the fans go in the comments and say, "Don't play 2, it sucks," and then they just don't play 2 and form a opinion
Yeah.
for themselves. That shit
It's
pisses
super
me
annoying.
off.
Yeah, no, it
It's
doesn't
so
suck. It's
stupid.
just it's just my least favorite.
Yeah.
I think because it piggybacked so much off of what was going on in the first one, but it wasn't fresh like
Hey,
the.
it wouldn't be the first game
first
to
and
piggyback
anything.
off of anything in a
I mean,
series.
you're
that's for
right.
sure.
You're right. But it didn't. I mean, the big sisters were pretty cool.
Fuck yeah, that shit was awesome and scary.
Yeah.
And I had the multiple endings. Like, come on now. Don't fuck with me.
They all have multiple endings depending on how many sisters you harvest or not.
Does the first one have multiple endings? I thought it's pretty much
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it's pretty much the same, but it's like 2 different endings depending on if you harvested all the little sisters or saved them all.
Yeah,
I don't
I've
remember. I need to replay
always
them.
saved them all because in the
Actually, I
end
think
you
there's 3, but
you
yeah,
actually get more Adam if you save them anyway.
yeah, you do.
Which you get more Adam overall, but you get more Adam right away if you harvest them. Plus, it was kind of like a moral thing, you know.
Mhm.
Chaz would always
Yeah.
tell me. Chaz would always say, "Fuck those little alien, whatever you'd say," and like, I'm gonna harvest every single one of them.
Yeah, I'll harvest them.
What's
Yeah.
your number 5 there? Top 5.
Me?
Yeah.
GTA 5.
Ooh,
5
5 on 5.
5 on 5.
Yeah. This is probably my favorite GTA game because I actually really enjoy the story. GTA Online is its own behemoth. It's still a thing. This game still sells like crazy. Yeah.
Remember when we tried doing a series of that online?
Dude, those were some of our best videos.
We
probably.
played we played tennis,
tennis.
for like an
I
episode.
remember the tennis videos were great.
Yeah.
One tennis video I used to watch it.
Yeah, you can find them
Those
somewhere on our
videos were
channel.
good. Yeah,
You
they're
gotta
up there.
dig. I love. I think
Yeah.
the one where the car blew up was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's
yeah,
it's crazy how successful that game is. Still to this day, it's still like number 1 on the e-stores for PlayStation and Xbox. Years
Yeah,
after this
stupid.
game's been out, it still makes ridiculous amounts of money with the online system. It's wild. I don't have it on my list, but it is in my honorable mentions.
Yeah, it's definitely up there for me.
Yeah. because I couldn't just not mention it because of how good it was, and then 2, how successful it is still to this day.
I don't have it on my list because I hate everything. No, I'm kidding. I don't hate, but I don't have it on my list just because like GTA is like a cool game to me, but it wasn't one of those games that I played like a super lot. Like I would beat it and I would like play for a while, then I would just get tired of it, you know?
Yeah. Overall, I rather Red Dead over Grand Theft Auto, but
definitely
still fun to mess around with.
Oh, for sure.
Cooper, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is God of War, the PS4 one.
Ooh.
Nice.
I was late to the party though. I hadn't played the game a while. I had y'all and multiple friends and people telling me play it, it's so awesome, and I played it finally and I love the game a lot. As far as comparing it to the other ones, it's hard to compare because the other ones are like, for us, we kind of grew up with the older ones, so it's kind of like a nostalgia effect comes into play there. But
I would still say these might be better, but
this one's definitely better than any other
overall.
Definitely. But I'm just saying for the whole nostalgia effect, I love the older ones too. But this one had the whole RPG element. I love RPGs, but RPGs make every game better, in my opinion. I mean, look what it did with God of War. To an extent. Look what it did with God of War. Assassin's Creed Odyssey had the RPG element too. It just
I don't like
makes
the
it better.
RPG aspect of Assassin's Creed. I hate being locked out of the game until I get to a certain level.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's depends on what you like, but the whole
and I'm not paying Ubisoft to finish the game.
That's some pretty bold feelings there.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
We're on time. Go.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, God of War.
My phone's gonna die.
God of War, I loved it. It was amazing.
Okay. Yeah, it's on my honorable mention. I didn't put it on the list, but I loved it.
Yeah, it almost made my list as well.
All right. So my number 5 is The Witcher 3. Speaking of games, big RPG games to sink hours and hours into. I don't even remember how many hours I put into this game. I've still yet to finish it, even though I've put over 100 hours into it. Because side missions in this game have their own side missions with their own side missions. But this game is fantastic.
That was my problem with this game. It was too big.
Yeah. Like, it's one of those games that you'll just never, ever finish.
I've always wanted to play it, but I never did. And
Cooper, you'll lose your life.
I know.
We'll never speak to Cooper again.
Yeah, we'll never see Cooper again.
That's what Chris had told me. He's like, dude, don't even try. It's too much.
It's so much, but
Cyberpunk.
The world is just fantastic. I mean, I haven't finished. I have one of the books. I haven't finished it either, but I love the world of The Witcher. I love the lore and everything about it. The Netflix series was great. I'll be impatiently waiting for season 2 of it, but Witcher's fantastic. I'd recommend it if you have 300 hours to waste. All right, so my number 4 is, we already talked about this, but is Overwatch. Overwatch,
high up on the list.
It's high up on there for me because it's one of these online games that I go back to time and time again. I might not play it for 5 months, and then I'll go back and play it for like a week straight. Whenever a new event comes out or whatever. There's just always something new being offered in the game. It has great support, a big community. It's fun to play, fun to watch. Everything about Overwatch is great, and it's one of Blizzard's most successful franchises, and even though it being like the youngest. So
Overwatch.
Yeah, Overwatch. It made all 3 of our lists. Woo! All right, Coop, what's your number 4?
That's a good-ass game.
Okay, so my number 4 is Monster Hunter World.
Okay.
Another game that I lost my life to for quite a very long time. I think my character I had hopped on a few months ago to help a buddy of mine out who was just starting out, and he wanted me to help him with like a build and stuff. And I looked, I think I had like 500 some hours when I would go look at my character. I played that game way too much, but I loved everything about it. It was my first Monster Hunter game. I've never played any of them before. Every single thing about that game was amazing. I enjoyed carrying Chaz through most of the story missions because he was too hard-headed to get to go find resources to build better armor and better weapons, and I told him not to use a double blaze, but he did it anyway because that's Chaz for you. Good memories, nothing but good memories for that game for real though. A good friend of mine just recently got into it, and he wanted me to go start playing with him again, but he wanted to wait until he got max level and caught up, and so we could go do stuff together. So I will be playing it again one day. But yeah, overall, one of my favorite games for sure.
Yeah, I loved the fighting of the monsters. I just hated everything else in that game.
Yeah, the grind.
Yeah,
but the actual part of where you're just fighting the monster, so fucking sick, so cool.
Yeah,
definitely.
Cool,
and very hard at first.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, incredible. It's got a very steep learning curve.
Definitely.
Chaz, what's your number 4 there?
My number 4 is Destiny, specifically Year 1 Destiny.
I thought that would be higher.
This is the peak of my addiction. I almost dropped out of college because of this game. I stopped going to classes because of this game. I'd literally play this game I'd wake up at 9 p.m. and play till 9 a.m. And then my life was in shambles, but all I did was play Destiny 1 every day, all day. I've never been addicted to a game like I was to that game, and it wasn't even that, looking back at it, I don't even know what the fuck I was playing for so long because there wasn't that much shit to do.
No, there wasn't. Not at that time.
Yeah, just the first raid, such good memories playing Year 1 Destiny.
Mom spaghetti. That's all I'll say about that. Dude, spaghetti. Oh my god, I've spent so many hours on that game as well. Between playing with y'all, some of my other college buddies, one of my buddies would come over. We would split, we would have each a TV at my house. We'd have both of our PlayStations hooked up, playing Destiny, almost like it was an old school LAN party back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh my god, spend hours on that game. So fun. It's not on my
list. Remember the good old days when you get a purple Ingram and not get a legendary?
Yeah, dude. Fuck that shit.
Good days.
And then I remember we were doing spending hours at that loot cave,
yes,
non-stop grinding, and then we'd finally get those purple Ingrams, and they'd be green, and you'd be like, "What the fuck?" But yeah, honestly, I completely forgot about Destiny somehow. I didn't even put it on my list. I didn't put it on my honorable mentions. But now that it's refreshed in my mind, I think I just tried to block it out because I just don't want to go back to Destiny.
Can't go
it wasn't healthy for us.
No, it was not. That was a dark time in my life, but a good dark time.
For sure. But what's your number 3 there, Chaz?
My number 3 is Gone Home. An indie game.
Interesting.
This is I don't know, I just love this game so much, and the story of this game is so cool. You just come back to this giant empty house and you have to figure out what the fuck happened, and it's so eerie. And the entire time I was playing it the first time, I thought it was going to be a horror game, so I was expecting to be scared, but it's not a horror game.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just so good.
Yeah, I played through that game several times trying to get the platinum for it. I think there's a platinum, or at least trying to get all the trophies.
Yeah.
I always fucked up the little basketball goal part, so I could never speedrun it quick enough. But yeah, it was a good game.
And there's a lot of hidden stuff that not everyone finds in that game. It's some deep shit. Cooper's never finished it, and then I make fun of him for it all the time.
Yeah. I went through a thing where I played it quite a lot for a while, and then then something else came out, and I started playing that, and I just never went back to it.
I don't even know how you play this game for a while and not beat it. It's not a long game.
You can literally beat it in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, interesting pick. I respect the pick.
I respect it.
Cooper, what's your top 3 game of the decade?
My top 3 is y'all would agree it's in top 3, but y'all would probably want it to be higher, but it's not. Is The Last of Us. Last of Us is number 3 for me. Sorry, sorry ahead of time, Mom. If you're listening.
It's okay. Top 3 is acceptable.
Okay.
Top 2 is acceptable. Get the fuck out of here.
I love this game just as much as anybody. Maybe not as much as Chaz, because that's impossible. But I loved it a lot. I've beaten it several times. I've beaten it on PS3, which is where I first played it. A friend of mine actually had it and was playing at his house, and he's like, dude, you should check this game out. And I played it, and I'm like, oh my god, I fell in love with it. One of the greatest stories, or if not the greatest stories of a game that a game could tell, I will say. The part with the giraffes made me cry almost. That's such a good memory with the giraffes. The combat, the crafting, the clickers, just like everything about the game was amazingly perfect to me. I can't say it had any problems because it didn't, and I will always remember it as it was, and I can't wait for 2.
Yeah, all I gotta say for now, chef's kiss.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
that's it.
So let's see. My number 3 is Marvel's Spider-Man, the PS4 game.
That almost made my list.
For me, this is the best Spider-Man game ever made. Arguably, maybe the best superhero video game ever made. Sorry, Batman, but
yeah,
I'm also
right.
a bigger Spider-Man fan than a Batman fan.
Yeah.
But those are both my 2 favorite, respectively, for their franchises, DC and Marvel. But everything about this game, I fucking loved. It was one of my first platinums in a long time. I wanted to make sure I did everything I could. However, I have not yet gone and played the DLC. One time, eventually I'll get around to it, but I loved my time just swinging around New York and everything about it. It was just a fantastic game, and if I could erase my memory and replay it, I would.
Yes, that's something I want to do all the time.
I totally would.
Yes.
I love that game a lot. I played it as well. It's on my honorable mentions. I had it on my top 15 list, but I had to bring it down, so I couldn't put it. Yeah. But I do love that game a lot.
Comic book suit, best suit. By the way.
I like the classic. I'm a classic boy.
Classic. Well, the comic suit's like the classic, but like it's got like that cell shader, like comic book style. I love it.
I
It's
also
so
like
cool.
the Tom Holland suit a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good suit. I'm a real stickler when it comes to my Spider-Man suits, so I would refuse to wear any of the crazy suits. He had to look like fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah. Chaz, me and him used to talk about that all the time when the game came out. He'd be like, dude, he goes, this isn't a Power Rangers game or whatever. He's like, it's Spider-Man. Yeah. I'm going to wear a Spider-Man suit.
Even like the game suit, like the suit they designed for this game, I was not a huge fan of.
Yeah, I didn't like it. It was okay.
But I'm so glad they gave you the option to wear the classic suit, and yeah, so good.
Dope. But yeah, I'm just a big Spider-Man fan. He's my favorite all-time superhero. I got like the whole a collection of the Funko Pops. Like my whole guest room that I'm in right now that I record in is full of Spider-Man and Marvel shit. So yeah, I'm just a super fan. But moving on to my number 2 game of the decade is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Nice.
Wow.
Yes.
I wasn't expecting that one.
Yes. Considering this is the first game from Guerrilla that wasn't a Killzone, they knocked it out of the park. And
Do not talk shit about Killzone. We'll have a problem on a personal level.
I'm not talking shit about it. I'm just saying.
I'm just kidding.
Considering they switched gears completely from a first-person shooter to a third-person adventure role-playing open-world game, like it's who would have thought like this game would have been as good as it was coming from a studio who didn't have any background in this genre to be one of the best games on the PS4, but also one of the best games probably of the decade and of the console generation. And then there's going to be another one coming out, hopefully or supposedly, and I am super excited about that. Can't wait. But I spent hours on this game. I'm also big on like trying to do collectibles, like collectathons and stuff like that. That's like why Banjo-Kazooie is probably one of my favorite games of all time. But I tried collecting every single thing that I could in this game. And it was one of those games that like I kind of had to take a little break from. Stuff came out, so I had to go play those, and then I came back to it. and then I fell back in love with it once I got back into it. It's just a fantastic game. If you own a PlayStation 4, it's a must play.
Yeah.
Chaz hates me because I played it and I didn't really like. It wasn't to my it didn't tickle my fancy, as someone would say.
I don't know why you said that, because I didn't really like it either.
No, but you tell me I was stupid for not liking it or something? Or it might have been somebody else.
No.
Actually.
It might have been me.
I'm gonna explain why I don't like it. And
I don't think it's a bad game. It wasn't my.
No, I don't think it's a bad game either.
No, you can explain that right now.
No, it's good. It's gonna come up in one of my later picks.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Cooper, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Destiny 1. I know y'all talked about it earlier, but I saved what I wanted to save because it was on my pick. Everything Chaz and y'all said to control your life, flunked college, not really flunked college, but took control of that aspect too. I used to do the same thing he did: wake up, play, go to school, play. When I got back, like 15 hours a day, easy shit like that. Like that game was.
You went to school, fucking pleb.
Definitely took control of my life for sure. I'm not an old Destiny player as y'all. I didn't start playing till right before Taken King came out. But the thing is that I still played a lot. I don't remember how many hours I had, but it's definitely would be too much, and I'd probably be embarrassed to say how many hours I had on it.
Wasn't that when you got a PlayStation 4? It was around Destiny?
Yeah, it was. I got the one. Yeah,
I remember that because we were like, Cooper, you need to get a PlayStation 4 so you could play Destiny with us. Because did you have it on 3 or no?
No, I was gonna get it, but then I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked him about getting it for 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
I remember you saying that you were probably getting it for it. That's why I was like.
Well, actually, my PS4 is the Destiny Taken King bundle one.
Ah, dope.
But so I played it a lot. I loved it. It's Destiny. I played Destiny 2 a good bit also, but it's just not the same, and it depresses me how it's not nearly as good, and it sucks now. You could say, whatever. It'll never be the same. It'll never be the game we loved and fell in love with, and that's fine, I guess. We had our good memories with it,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It had its time.
Yeah, it had its time.
Sure.
It's time to move on to other stuff, I guess. But yeah, that's my number 2, and I'll always have a soft spot for that game, and
cool.
in my heart.
Cool deal. Chess, what's your top 2?
All right, my number 2 is Breath of the Wild, and the thing I was gonna say about Horizon is Breath of the Wild was so good that it ruined Horizon for me, because Breath of the Wild was so open. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You could go wherever the fuck you wanted. And then a week later, Horizon came out, and I felt like I was in a box. Like I couldn't go. I was stuck.
Yeah.
So that's but yeah, Breath of the Wild was one of the greatest experiences.
No, I think Horizon came out beforehand.
Well, they came out really close to each other.
Yeah, they were 2 weeks apart or something like that. Because I remember because Horizon came out around my birthday. Because that was my birthday gift to myself.
Either way, I know I played Breath of the Wild first, and it was just such a magical experience. And then I tried to play Horizon, and it just wasn't. I couldn't do it. So I guess I need to go back and try and play Horizon now that I'm not in Breath of the Wild love. But yeah, Breath of the Wild is such a magical game for me. It's my number 2 game of all time. It's my favorite Zelda game of all time. I know the dungeons aren't that great, but I'll sacrifice dungeons for 150 small dungeons. You know what I'm saying? It's a give and take. But yeah, I love Breath of the Wild so much.
Breath of the Wild is also on my honorable mentions. I loved the game. I used to go to Chaz's house sometimes just to play it because I didn't have a Switch. And I know that sounds horrible. I mean, I went there to see him too, but it was a little while where I went to go play it.
It's kind of funny that you had mentioned the release dates between Horizon Zero Dawn and Zelda. I completely forgot as to why, but that's the whole reason why I stopped playing Horizon was so I could play Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, they I mean, very similar games coming out within several weeks of each other, 3 weeks or whatever. But yeah, now that you say that, I remember that was the game that I stopped playing Horizon to play, and then once I finished it, I went back to the Horizon to play it. But also because I play Zelda with Taylor, that's our series that we play together always. We've played through pretty much everything from Ocarina to Breath of the Wild together. So we played that together, so that's why I'd stopped playing Horizon for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, both great games. But Chaz, what is your all-time best, favorite, number one game of the decade?
Well, it's also my all-time favorite game of all time.
I think I know what it
No
is.
surprise here. It's The Last of Us. Yeah, like I couldn't go on forever about this game. The opening of this game is the best opening in a video game. It's one of the most heart-wrenching openings of anything. I love this game so much. I named my damn dog after one of the characters.
Ellie, stand up.
Ellie, where you at? Ellie. Yeah, this game is as close as you can get to a perfect game, and I'm so excited to see what they do in part 2 this year.
Damn, a lot shorter than I thought there, bud.
Like I said, I could go on forever. Like, there's nothing I could even.
We'll talk about it some more.
You could even start crying too, because you cry. Because that game makes you cry.
Yeah, like I've every time I play this game, I cry. I watch people play this game on. One of my favorite things to do is watch people on Twitch that have never played this game play through this game.
I always think of that girl with the bunny when Ellie shoots the bunny with the bow.
Like, she's like, oh, it's so cute, and just gets killed instantly.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
So great. But Cooper, what is your number one all-time favorite game of the decade?
And it sucks. I'm sorry we talked about it already, but my number one game of the entire decade was BioShock 2.
Wow.
Hey,
wow, you put 2 as number 1?
Let's go, Cooper. Let's go.
I mean, I respect it. I respect it because BioShock is like one of my favorite series of all time.
Look, and y'all put rules and shit, so I had to pick 2. But if I could pick, I would pick all 3 games as my number 1.
Yeah, you can't pick the whole series.
Yeah, you can't cheat like that.
But I know I can. But
one came out before, I think 2008 or something like that. So.
Yeah, it was 2000. Yeah.
Well, 1 and 2 are very close, like in tied wise to me. Like I can't. It's hard. I pick 2 a little bit more, but it's hard to pick. We talked about Infinite. I loved Infinite more than anything as well. So yeah, I mean, I know it's hard to believe I picked it over Destiny, but dude, the BioShock game series is arguably my favorite game series ever. So I had to pick it. I had to.
Yeah. I agree with you.
It's too good.
BioShock is. I mean, the first one is probably one of my favorite games of all time, but I love the series, and I always said, like, if I ever would get a tattoo, I'm not a tattoo person, but if I ever would, I would get the chains on my wrists.
Same,
yeah, I'm
dude.
getting that one.
That shit. I want to get it so bad. I've always said that, but my girlfriend doesn't doesn't want me to get those tattoos or the chains on my wrist. But that would be my number one tattoo, or the big with the triangle the Big Daddy had on top of his hand. In 2, that's another option. But what I was gonna say is that the reason why it's my number 1 is because out of all the games I've ever played in my life, excluding maybe a couple games on GameCube, because I've done this too, but BioShock series, I've made a point since years and years ago to beat all 3 games every couple years, and I've been doing that.
Yeah, I go back and play PS1 all the time.
Days. Yeah, like I've beat him. So I couldn't even tell how many times I've beat him because I've been beating him since PS3 was out. And like every few years or every year, sometimes if I have the time, I'll beat all 3 games just to do it. Like, cause I can't say I've done that with any other games besides like maybe Super Mario Sunshine and stuff are like classic Nintendo games.
Yeah, I think like the only games I go back to is like maybe like Pokemon every now and then, like just to try new teams and stuff. But yeah, like BioShock 1 is definitely one of those games that I'll go back and play after a while. Same thing with Banjo-Kazooie, and well, I don't have Banjo-Kazooie at all anymore because I don't have a 360 or an N64, but I used to. But yeah, and that and like some Zelda games, like older games that we played when we were younger, for sure. But moving on to my number 1, I think it was also expected, is The Last of Us.
Hey.
My number 1 game of the decade, and honestly, it might be my number 1 game ever. I honestly can't think of anything wrong with the game. Everything about it was fantastic. Story, atmosphere, I guess the combat maybe was the only thing that you can maybe polish a little bit, but everything was just fantastic. And it's one of those things where you just have this attachment to the characters and the people in the game, and you don't want anything to ever happen to them. You just have that kind of like bond. And after playing the original one, it was always like, man, I wonder what happens after, the ending. Like, there's so much speculation, and we're finally going to get to know what happened this year. I'm super excited to play this game. I'm a little bummed that it got pushed back, but if The Last of Us 2 had to be pushed back for extra polishing or extra time, I understand. I'd rather have a polished, perfect game than a rushed one that is not as good. So I will gladly wait for this game. I don't want to wait too long, but I will. Because The Last of Us is
worth the wait, I feel.
Fantastic. Number one, all day, every day.
Yay!
It's over.
It's over.
We did it.
We talked about a lot of games over the decade, and there was a lot of other games that we could have talked about.
There's so many that were left out.
Yeah, I tried to stick towards games that I feel like just made an impact on myself, whether it was like story or characters more so than anything. But I mean, there's other games that I really enjoyed over the years. I mean, I already mentioned how big of a Pokemon fan I am. There's a lot of those games I enjoy. The Mario Maker, Smash Bros, Mario Kart 8, all that kind of stuff. Like, just fantastic games all around. I mean, but I really tried to narrow it down to just what I felt was just.
It was heartbreakingly difficult to do it, but it was it was done.
It's a lot of good games in 10 years. To go back
it
and
was
think
tough
about.
to narrow it down.
Oh yeah, for sure. We could have had a list of like 50.
Yeah.
Shit, let's save that for another day.
God.
That's so tiresome.
For sure.
In 10 years, we could make a top 50 of the decade.
Top 50 of the decade.
I'm going to need like
top 50 of our lifetime.
I'm going to need a month to prepare.
Oh, also shout out to Uncharted.
The
Uncharted series.
4 was almost on my list.
That was on my. Dude, I had 4 on my list. Although I think
I had a few honorable mentions, but let me just say really fast: the Far Cry series, which I just recently played. I know that's crazy, but I've never played them before. Except recently. I mean,
Far Cry 3 is my favorite.
Yeah, Far Cry 3 is my favorite. Second favorite was Primal. I know, like, maybe not a lot of people played Primal. I recently platinumed it. My God, was that game, like, it was way better than I thought. Like Chaz told me, oh, you think like not having guns and like just primitive weapons would be shitty, but they made it work really well, is all I'll say. And it was awesome being with to ride a saber-toothed tiger and devouring people. So yeah, and then my other honorable mention was Battlefield 5. I know everybody hated it, still hates it. Especially Chaz definitely didn't like it. I had to force him to play it and beg him to play it with me. It was my first Battlefield game. I played 1 as well. I'm not the biggest Battlefield fan. I still rather COD, but Battlefield 5 was awesome to me. And I had, like, how we always talked about these games had our time for a little time, our memories. I was obsessed with it for a little while. I played it for quite a while, and I had its time with it. I had my time with it, I should say, so. And Uncharted, yeah, that's what made y'all remind me. Uncharted's definitely on my honorable mention. The entire series is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Also, we don't have much of Xbox stuff because we mostly played on PlayStation, but I did have an Xbox 360 at one point. I also want to shout out the Gears of War series, just because it's probably my favorite of the Xbox exclusives. Sorry, Halo, but Gears is above you, in my opinion. So I will shout them out, even though I haven't played them in years. But, yeah.
And we have nothing to say.
Got to show some Microsoft love. But, man, I think that about wraps it all up. Any closing comments or anything like that, guys? Or
no, but this was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah, it was cool reminiscing, going down memory lane of all the games that we've played. a lot of games that either all three of us connected through, like Destiny, or games that each other has, kind of got us into. Like, for example, like Cooper. Actually, you got me into the God of War and the Assassin's Creed series because you had those games before I did, and I was like, ooh, I want to get those games too now because they're super fun. Oh, when was Minecraft out? Was it this decade?
I'm not sure.
Shout out to Minecraft 2, just because it's a behemoth. But
yeah.
Wait, Minecraft 2, I didn't beat the first one.
But yeah, that was another game that I've lost many hours on. But yeah, that was cool. This is definitely one of our longer episodes. Probably going to be one of our longest episodes. But there was so much to talk about. Yeah. But we'll try to go back to, I guess, around an hour next couple episodes and whatnot. So, but yeah, this was fun. I hope you guys really enjoyed listening in on our favorite games of all time. If you're on our YouTube, watching the podcast, feel free to comment in the section down below. Let us know about your favorite games of the decade or the year of 2019. Really interested to know what everyone thinks. We might have some very common. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Last of Us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us on YouTube.
Hit the bell.
Ding ding, y'all.
Ding ding,
y'all.
We'll catch y'all next time. So thanks again for listening. Catch y'all later. Peace.
Later.
Yay.
It's over.
It's over.
We did it.